Are you too busy to make art but need a creative outlet? I'm in one of those seasons right now, with the kids home on summer break, work, and travel. But I've found a way to stay creative and stay connected to my art. I'm actually taking it with me wherever I go. It's so easy now to squeeze in creative time even when I'm away from home. This creative practice changed everything for me, and maybe it can for you too. You could be creating art right now while you watch this video, or while your kids play at the park, or when you're waiting in the car, or on your lunch break. Turns out you don't need hours of uninterrupted time to grow your creativity. You can dip into your creativity anytime, anywhere. With this simple, tiny sketchbook practice, you can give yourself more opportunities to create art. In this video, I'll show you how I make these pocket-sized watercolor sketchbooks, and I'll show you inside some of mine. I discovered the power of a daily creative practice a few years ago when we had a house guest for an extended period of time. Since I paint on my dining room table, I knew I wouldn't get my paints out while they were here. It might surprise you, but I don't actually like an audience when I paint. But I wanted to stay creative and maintain a daily art practice. So I decided to work on my mark making. I got up early each morning before my house guests and worked on a page of marks while I sipped my coffee. I kept it really simple. I chose one shape and covered the page with as many patterns and variations of that shape as I could think of. My morning mark making pages kept me sane and connected to art while we had company. I enjoyed it so much, I continued mark making every morning for 2 months after our house guests left. Now I have all these pages to refer back to for inspiration. Since then, I've done a variety of other daily creative practices, and I've tried to keep a watercolor sketchbook, but I just can't get into it. Something about a bound book full of blank pages just makes me freeze up. But then I saw this amazing sketchbook idea from Onmar Win. She pre-paints her sketchbooks with random brushstrokes of color. It breaks the blank page and gives her something to build the sketch from. Around the same time, I saw a video from Helen Wells about how she makes sketchbooks from one sheet of paper. She makes these fun, small sketchbooks that seem so much more approachable, and she uses pre-painted papers too. I'll put links to their videos in the description below. I knew instantly I wanted to mash up those two ideas for my summer creative practice. So I made a batch of pre-painted watercolor sketchbooks. These are so fun and easy to make, and they're even more fun to use. My other sketchbooks are collecting dust, while these guys are getting all the love. They're easy to take anywhere. The small pages take the pressure off and they're quick to fill up. You can explore different media on top of the watercolor backgrounds. You can make these sketchbooks with repurposed old art or practice paintings. Because they're pre-painted, you're never starting with a blank page. There's one other huge benefit to making these sketchbooks or any regular creative practice. You can build up a library of inspiration. Keep them to refer back to and inspire yourself in the future. Have I convinced you that you need these tiny sketchbooks in your life? I'll show you exactly how to make them in a moment. It's so easy. But first, I want to show you inside some of the sketchbooks I'm working on right now. I feel like you're about to see the inner workings of my mind, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Please be kind and remember that these sketchbooks are my safe space to experiment and play. They're not meant to be finished art. I made all of these sketchbooks with pre-painted paper. That way, I'm never opening up to a blank page. I can use the pre-painted colors and textures as inspiration to start creating fast. If you want to learn some fun new ways to paint watercolor patterns and textures, check out my course, Creative Textures for Watercolor. You'll learn 45 watercolor texture techniques and how to layer them to create interesting backgrounds. I like to have several sketchbooks on the go so I can switch between them depending on my mood or what supplies I want to use. I made this book specifically for mark making with a white gel pen. This has quickly become one of my favorites because I love mark making and the only supply I need to take with is a white gel pen. I use a Uniball Signo white gel pen. I started by painting the paper wet on wet with a variety of blues and greens. I tried to make it pretty dark, knowing I was going to draw on it with white. When I only have a few moments to work on it, I just make random marks and doodles. When I have a little more time, I like to make patterns of marks. I made this one in the time it took me to enjoy a cup of coffee. This spread looks complex, but it's actually one of the easiest ways to start mark making. You just choose a mark and repeat it in a row across the page, and then do something different on the next row, and before you know it, you have an intricate pattern. Here I made a repeating pattern. I actually traced my pen cap to start this pattern. On the back, I made some more random marks. This paper is Stonehenge Aqua Hot Press. I really don't like painting on this paper, but it is nice for mark making because it is so smooth. The paper is already ripping at the folds. So I started making the sketchbooks another way that doesn't put as much stress on the spine. I'll show you both ways so you can see which way you like best. Next, this is my pink book. I love pink and orange as a color combination, but I don't paint with them as much as I'd like. This sketchbook was inspired by 3 colors on my new palette: Aussie Red Gold, Pyrrole Orange, and Quinacridone Coral. I used those 3 colors to paint the background patterns and textures on this paper. I have been working in this sketchbook with colored pencils. I chose a pink, yellow, and a purple that complement the background colors. Because I'm working with a limited color palette, I only have to take a few colored pencils with me, and I take a pencil sharpener because the colored pencil tips wear out fast on watercolor paper. You won't see these colored pencils in my supply list because I don't actually recommend the ones that I have. I'm in the market for an upgrade, so let me know in the comments what your favorite colored pencils are to use on watercolor paper. On the cover here, I built off of the background pattern, making it kind of look like a tile design. I started this first spread with flamingos. I'll probably come back and add some more to these pages. The stenciling across these 2 pages was a little sloppy, so I decided to clean it up by coloring in the negative space around the shapes. On this last spread, I'm adding more watercolor. I discovered that Quinacridone Coral mixed with ultramarine blue makes this beautiful, rich purple that I started painting with on this page. This sketchbook is Arch's cold press paper, made just like the first sketchbook, but the spine is not ripping at all. But this front fold here is ripping a little bit. So for the next 2 sketchbooks, I used a different format that I think works better with thick watercolor paper. The covers on this sketchbook are blank because I used a different format to make this one, and the paper was only painted on one side. I can paint these covers later, but I've already started working on the inside. I haven't done anything on this first spread yet, so you can get a good look at the painted background that I started with. I built up a few layers of texture just with watercolor. With the hexagon pattern in the background, I couldn't resist adding some bees. I wish I had painted them instead of using colored pencils, but I didn't have my paints with me at the time. I added some white line work to this page too, and I tried at first to use this fine point 0.7mm Posca white paint pen, but it didn't really give me opaque coverage. So I switched to my white gel pen to do the line work. On this spread, I used watercolor to paint layers of leaves. I was practicing with a water brush. I know there are smaller travel palettes, but I love my 18 well airtight palette. I can even fit a few water brushes inside. This last spread is full of texture waiting for me to add something to it. This book is also made from Arch's cold press paper, but it's more uniform than the other format and the pages lie flat. You also end up with 4 interior spreads instead of 3. I prefer this format. I made this book in landscape format. You might recognize these patterns from my simple watercolor patterns video. This was a test page that I painted before filming the video. This is Stonehenge Aqua hot press paper. The front and back just have the background patterns on them right now. But I'm so excited to show you what I've been doing inside this sketchbook. One of my personal goals is to draw more, so I'm combining drawing and painting in this book. I didn't think I would like the long landscape format, but I really love it. I feel like I have space to create a whole story across the spread. I'm using my own zoo and aquarium photos for reference. I just pull up the pictures on my phone while I'm sketching. On this spread, I drew the stingrays and then I used negative painting to paint around them. I used some lavender paint on the stingrays. For the line work on these pages, I'm using a 0.7 millimeter Posca acrylic marker. I did the same thing on this page. The dark background almost completely covers up the background pattern, so it only shows through on the manatee and the sea turtle. On this spread, I've only added an octopus so far with a purple Posca marker. I incorporated the background pattern into the markings on the octopus. Now, this sketchbook is actually double-sided. The paper was already painted on both sides. Actually, any of these sketchbooks can be double-sided, so when you finish the pages on one side, you can refold the book and work on the other side. Now, let me show you the paper folding magic used to create these sketchbooks. For each sketchbook, you'll need one sheet of watercolor paper and a pair of scissors. If you have a bone folder, a stylus, or a scoring board, those are helpful for folding, but not necessary. You could make these with blank paper, but where's the fun in that? Pre-painting the paper before making the sketchbook is an extra step, but it means when I only have a few minutes to create, I'm never starting with a blank page. I can use the background to inspire marks or doodles and start creating right away. I painted this paper with some of the texture techniques I teach in my course, Creative Textures for Watercolor. Check it out at the link below. I make my sketchbooks with 9 by 12 inch paper. The finished sketchbooks measure 3 by 4.5 inches, and a 2-page spread is 6 by 4.5 inches. If you start with larger paper, you can make a larger sketchbook, but I prefer this pocket size. All 3 of the formats I'm going to show you start out with the same 4 folds. So this first format is the 8-page zine style. In case you're not familiar, a zine is a mini magazine made from one folded up piece of paper. First, you want to score your paper lengthwise in half. So since this is 9 inches, I'm going to score at the 4.5 inch mark. If you don't have a scoring board, you can use a ruler and a bone folder or a stylus to score a straight line across the paper. I like to flip my paper over and score it on both sides since we are going to be folding it in both directions. Then going the other way, you want to score the paper at 3 inches, 6 inches, and 9 inches. Again, I flip it over to score the other side. Now we're going to fold along all of those score lines going in both directions. Use your bone folder to press that crease. Then fold the paper back the other way and crease again. Do the same thing for all the shorter folds. Once you have all of your folds created, you can fold the paper in half, and you might notice that the paper wasn't exactly 12 inches. So we can trim this edge off here to even these sides up. Now, with your paper folded in half, you're gonna make one cut from this folded edge in towards the center here. And you're gonna cut through both sides of the paper. That cut you made just makes a slit going across the center of the paper. And now you can fold your paper like this. And then you can fold it into a book. Now you'll notice with watercolor paper, it doesn't exactly lay perfectly flat depending on how you fold it. So you can just play around and see which way the paper lies flat. Once you have it pretty flat, then you can use your bone folder again to set those creases. And you'll notice it's going to be a little wonky with thick paper. It's really hard to get perfect folds, and the thickness of the paper makes it difficult. You can see this paper, which is an Arches hot press paper, is ripping along the spine with this format. That seems to be a feature of hot press paper. It seems to rip easier than the cold press paper. But that is how you make a basic 8-page sketchbook. The next two formats I'm going to show you are accordion style books. They are easier to fold with thick paper, they are more uniform, and you get 4 interior spreads instead of 3. The main difference is that the covers are only 1 thickness of paper, and it's the back side of the paper that shows on the front and back cover. You can paint those separately or start with paper that's already painted on both sides, like I did with this sketchbook. For these accordion style books, you start out with the same size paper, 9 by 12 inches, and the exact same fold lines. So you can see if I fold this one out, it's exactly the same setup. The only difference is instead of cutting a slit in the center, we're going to cut all the way from one edge 3/4 of the way across. So your paper will look like this once you have it folded and cut. Then you just fold it up like an accordion, going this way, turn the corner, and then fold the other way. And that's how you create an accordion style portrait sketchbook. You can also make a landscape version of the accordion style. It also has 4 spreads. So I'm going to open this out to show you. It is the same size paper and the same folds. The only difference is you're going to cut slits across this way in a zigzag fashion. So you cut here, here, and here. And this paper is painted on both sides. And then you can fold it up like an accordion. Just follow the folds, alternating the direction that you fold. And that's how you create the landscape accordion sketchbook. And with these accordion style books, when you're done, if you want, you can paint the other side. So the other side is already pre-painted here, and you can fold it up like an accordion going in the other direction. So part of the spread you already painted is going to be on the back cover, same here on the front cover, and now you have additional spreads that you can paint on the inside. I have been using these small binder clips to keep my sketchbooks closed. You could also use a rubber band or put them in a small envelope. Something really unique about these sketchbooks is that you can flip through them like a book, or you can open them out flat and see all of your pages together. I think it's really cool to see them this way. If you like the idea of adding illustrations like I did here and want a quick way to transfer drawings into these sketchbooks, check out my video, 4 tracing hacks every watercolor artist needs to know. The tracing paper method I demo in that video is the perfect way to transfer drawings into these sketchbooks. I hope you'll give these tiny sketchbooks a try and start fitting more creative time into your day. Before you know it, you'll have a tiny collection of ideas to inspire your art when you have more time to create.